on that note, it is actually 7:05, so we will go right on ahead. What I would like to do first is ask if I can get a volunteer to read our land acknowledgement, which I am dropping into the chat. Do I have a volunteer?
I will volunteer.
Thank you, Mike.
We at Climate Reality Dallas-Fort Worth chapter acknowledge the ongoing harm caused by colonialism and white supremacy perpetuated in Texas. Indigenous communities have suffered genocides and forced removals from their lands. We realize that we all are standing on lands stolen from Indigenous people, particularly those of Kickapoo, Wichita, Tawakonee, Jumanos, and Comanche in the DFW areas. We are committed to cultivating mindfulness around the history of native lands and communities through continuous education, participation, and active listening.
Thank you. I'll drop some links for further education for anybody who wants it. Now we'll go into our meeting ground rules. I've got my camera here and my monitors here, so as I look away, I'm thinking about looking at you, I promise. Make space or take space, 2 minutes each for every attendant, so everybody has an opportunity to share their thoughts. When you speak, please speak from the I perspective instead of generalizing. Practice active listening and seek to understand. Assume that everyone has good intentions. Respect one another's space, time, and interest. Be willing to be uncomfortable. Be open to productive discomfort. Remember that intent does not negate impact. Disagree without discord. Personal attacks and labeling have no place in our chapter. And accept that there is no quick fix for the issues that we discuss. All right, with that, I believe that Beth, as chair of the creatives group, has an opening for us, or possibly Beth as education chair.
Either one and both. And yes, and here we are in January. And here we are, the first meeting in the evening. So who knows what our days have been? Busy, wonderful, happy, aggravated, all of that. And so let's start and just drop the stress, just like the leaves fall from the trees, and just see it just falling off of us and down into the earth. And in her wisdom, she knows what to do with the energy. The next focus is about gratitude for choice. It's January. We make choices in January. We sense, we focus inward. We ask ourselves, what's this year about for me? What do I want to do, be, create? What do I want to choose? Choice is an extraordinary gift. And we take a moment to give gratitude to this gift that we are given of making choices. We can make choices as a group. We can make choices as environmentalists, and the choice is power. It ignites. It is an ignition. And so it is that I offer my gratitude for choice and welcome everyone to the meeting.
Thank you, Beth. All right, now we'll go into introducing Rita. We all know Rita, but I'm going to introduce her anyway. For more than 15 years, Rita Beving has been a volunteer and professional advocate on environmental issues, including air, water, and landfill in North and East Texas, coordinating with numerous environmental groups like us across the state. Currently, she serves as a consultant for Public Citizen on clean energy and eminent domain work in North Texas. Rita conducts ongoing monthly clean air meetings to educate the public on energy efficiency, PACE renewable energy districts, and other clean air issues in North Texas. So Rita, I've got about 20 minutes for you and then 10 minutes Q&A, and we can be pretty flexible with that if we need to.
Okay, and I don't know, thanks, Simon, if I'll take that 20 minutes. So, yes, everybody this year has started off like a shotgun. Starting last week, we had the TCEQ, the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, had a hearing on the poor air quality for Dallas for the 2008 ambient air standards. And the comment period on that closed last night. But there are lots of things happening on air, and a lot of things, particularly that deal with climate. So what I want to talk to you about tonight is the North Central Texas Council of Governments is developing a regional climate plan. And for folks that may not be familiar with who is COG, that's what we call them. They are like a voluntary regional planning group for the region. And the region is 16 counties. So I'm going to tell you who the counties are so you have an idea of how big it is. It's Erath, Hood, Hunt, Navarro County, Dallas, Collin, Denton, and Tarrant counties, Palo Pinto, Parker, Rockwall, Kaufman, Ellis, Somerville, Wise, and Wise counties. So we go as far west as Somerville, where Comanche Peak Nuclear Power Plant is. We go down to Corsicana. We go out there toward Rockwall, and we go up toward Denton. So it's a big region and a big population. So COG is taking comments right now on a regional clean air plan. Now, they are calling it an air quality implementation plan, or AQIP, and they are having open houses regarding cleaning up the air in Dallas-Fort Worth. And it's not just greenhouse gas emissions, but it's also going to include some other pollutants. All of us know methane are a major precursor on climate change. They're also addressing particulate matter and sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxides. And essentially, COG was awarded a $1 million grant to take the staff time to develop a regional clean air plan or climate plan. They have a deadline to submit their preliminary set of initiatives for this air plan on March 1st. Their next deadline for more in-depth measures to this initial plan, March 1st, is April 1st. Then, and they've done an emissions inventory of the region. They're in the process of finalizing that. And then through the Inflation Reduction Act with the Biden administration, final awards will be given to implement the plan. And EPA, it of course goes through EPA. And we're talking up to $500 million, guys, to implement these measures. And so that is really exciting because obviously our region has had poor air quality since the NAC standards were introduced in 1990, when Dallas, Collin, Tarrant, and Denton counties were put in what we call non-attainment, which basically means you can't meet the clean air standards. So the state agency, to be blunt, has failed the region for decades. And I'm excited that COG, who knows our region better than anyone and coordinates with many of the cities and counties in the area, have a shot at this money. Now, the only 10 areas will get this $500 million. There's grants that are much lower than that. Just in Texas, Austin, McAllen, El Paso, Houston, Austin, and if I didn't say San Antonio are all competing for these grants, and we are all competing with other cities nationwide. But being Texas, we probably need these grants the worst. So I'm hoping COG is pretty adept at this. One of the people out at COG I've known for over 20 years because I used to be on the COG's Clean Air Steering Committee all the way back to 2006. So they have some real competent people to devise these measures to clean up the air. And often when you clean up some pollutants, you clean up a lot of pollutants because you're putting on new pollution controls, etc. Now, most of you probably know a lot of our pollution is from cars, off-road and on-road vehicles. That would include construction equipment, bulldozers that you see in construction and that kind of thing, planes, trains, anything that has to do with transportation. They are the most major part of our air problem. However, we also get lots of emissions from other sources. For instance, over in Midlothian, you have cement kilns and power plants. They contribute to our poor air quality. All the way out to East Texas, where the Martin Lake power plant is, that is one of the oldest and dirtiest power plants in Texas. It puts out 13.3 million metric tons of GHG emissions. I will tell you from trying to close that plant down with Public Citizen, there are lots of sick people living in the shadows of that plant. And frankly, they're one of the industries that we talked about to both TCEQ and in this plan because frankly, they're so old, I don't think they could even retrofit with new equipment to clean up. So they should just be shut down. They're a major contributor to our ozone and our air quality problems, even though they're that far away in East Texas. So what COG is looking for, and I sent this to Simon, but I'm going to resend it. They have 12 pages of bullet points, just generalizations of measures they want to implement to help clean up GHG emissions and some of the pollutants I just mentioned. Everything from enforcing idling restrictions on those semi-tractor trailer trucks that sit at truck stops to electrifying equipment at all the airports to getting our EV infrastructure in place, incentives for EVs, incentives possibly for residents to get energy efficient appliances, to weatherize their homes, and so on and so forth. So there's 12 pages of measures that they have that groups like Public Citizen and others are supporting. I will send that to Simon. But I want to give you guys, before I forget, the dates that are coming up that may be of interest. And then I'll talk a little more. If anyone on the Zoom call is from Fort Worth, there is an open house tomorrow at Fort Worth at 6 o'clock. And I'll send this to Simon. and jigs at the Hazel Harvey Peace Center for Neighborhoods on Missouri Avenue. That is one of the meetings that's tomorrow night in Fort Worth. I think the best meeting for anyone on the Zoom call tonight will be next week, because just like we are doing Zoom tonight, COG is having a virtual meeting on the 24th, which is a week from tonight. And it's at 6:30. Again, I'll send the information over to Simon and Jigs, but know that to attend the meeting next Wednesday, you need to email COG, and I'll give Simon and everyone the website. It's basically, if anybody wants to write it down, DFW AQUIP, that's AQUIP at publicinput.com. Again, that's DFW AQUIP at publicinput.com. So, and then they will send you the link to attend next Wednesday night. And what they do at these meetings, since I've been to one, they will do a short presentation on introducing what COG does, talking about where the major sources of pollution are as far as categories, give a little bit about the health effects caused by some of these pollutants. And they will discuss in generalities some of the measures they are proposing. And you as citizens are also free to give your own input. I know to give input for public citizen, I went through the Dallas CCAP and compared it to what COG was putting out there and developed my own list of measures that they could consider. I also, because I've worked on the CCAP or the Dallas Climate Plan since before it was voted on, I happen to have some other climate plans. So I looked at Denver's, for instance, and gave them ideas. Now, here's the crux of this whole thing. Whatever monies they get awarded to push this climate plan forward, it is with the idea that the EPA and the federal government want quick and measurable reductions. Meaning measures that might take we all know how government works, and it can be very slow. If I propose a program and it takes 3 years just for cities to get it set up and off the ground, that may not be a priority measure, because by the time you get it implemented, you won't get the best bang for your buck. But like, for instance, idling restrictions, TCEQ can give cities that information, and they can pass an ordinance about idling restrictions immediately, or the state can. And by the way, all the cities in Texas are competing with the state as well as developing their own regional climate plan. Although I'm rooting for the cities because I think we do a better job. I want to mention another meeting for somebody who wants to sit in on an I know it lasts all morning, it might last all day, on February 15th, out at UT Arlington at 9 a.m. If any of you know this name, Magna Tare, she is a UN climate advocate and a professor at UTA. She is having a roundtable discussion about climate. It would probably be a great networking opportunity if you have the time to be able to go. And that same email address I gave you guys a few minutes ago is how you can attend. Just say you want to be there and they will give you all the information. Now, there is one more meeting left after February 15th. That's when that meeting that lasts at least all morning in Arlington happens. There's one more meeting in Dallas after that. And it's not in Dallas per se, but it's February 18th. And I'll make sure you all have the dates. It too is in Arlington. It's at the E.H. Hereford University Center on West First. Again, you use the email to be able to attend. So we have these opportunities to go ahead and listen to what COG's doing, read what their measures are, and also give our own ideas on what you think maybe off of COG's list should be a priority, or things you may have seen done in other cities, because I know a bunch of you have gone to Al Gore's training. You may have ideas from that. And they will consider that. And I think what all the cities are aiming for is they're going to have to evaluate what kind of reductions can happen if these measures are implemented. So in other words, they're going to look at all their measures, all the suggestions we may give and others may give, and they're going to look for the best bang for their buck, in other words. So that's how that's going to roll. So let me give you some of the general things, for instance, that might get you thinking about this air plan. Here are some of the greenhouse gas measures they're thinking about. Encouraging more residential and commercial solar and getting more incentives for residential solar. Establish net metering. Reducing greenhouse gas emissions through eliminating pipeline leaks. I happen to work on energy to an extent, and the EPA just passed rules December 2nd of 2023 regarding new methane rules. It will require more monitoring. It will require all the oil and gas operations to clean up their leaking infrastructure. And it's not just pipelines, it's pneumatic devices, it's their storage tanks, their compressor stations, etc. I know Rajana Bandari with Livable Arlington, and there is a lot of fracking going on in Arlington. If we all, I'm sure everyone here doesn't support fracking, we would like a moratorium on that. But if they're going to drill, they should use electric drilling rigs, and they should use electric motors on any equipment, whether it's a pump jack or any kind of engine, wherever possible. Other things that they're looking at is replacing heavy-duty diesel vehicles with newer models to meet emission requirements. COG has had a program to help city fleets replace gasoline engine fleet vehicles with electric vehicles. During the budget for Dallas this past September, some of us were saying, hey, the fire chief wants an electric fire truck. Let's get him one. Let's do a pilot on electric trash trucks. Chicago's been doing it since 2014. There are other things to think about. And trying to encourage EV vehicles with more rebates, updating roadways to minimize idling, subsidizing individuals' costs to ride public transportation, especially in our disadvantaged areas, to help them be able to get on public transportation, updating our building codes, installing cool or green roofs on government and commercial buildings, decarbonizing lawn equipment. As some of you know, I also work at the legislature and lobby for public citizen. And one thing the legislature passed last session was a bill to basically negate what Dallas was thinking about on trying to get rid of gasoline powered lawn equipment. But if you can't do it with a stick, sometimes you can do it with a carrot. So perhaps if COG gets this passed, they can provide incentives for lawn equipment groups to turn in those gasoline powered blowers, etc., and get electric equipment. Other things are restructuring water and electric rates to encourage conservation. And there's 12 pages, probably. Oh, I would say COG's probably got 200 measures on those lists, if not more. So that is what's going on with COG. And they are very welcoming as it comes to public input. And I hope some of you will join on the phone or on Zoom next Wednesday, at least for that meeting. COG also has a survey you can fill out where you can indicate your feelings about a regional climate plan and what your priorities may be. So that is another way you can submit comments via the survey or actually emailing the comments to the air modeler that you will probably hear from at the meeting. Her first name's Savannah. Her last name just escaped me. Got it here.
Nance.
Thank you. Yeah, Savannah Nance. If any of you know Chris Claus, who's been there forever, Chris is working on it. And some of you probably knew Susan Alvarez from the city of Dallas. She's now head of the environmental department out there. So they're all interested in anything we have to offer. So I have another topic just to mention to everyone. But I will stop there for the moment and see if anyone's got any questions on anything. Because I know I kind of just did this off the cuff, so.
Rita, this is Molly. I was
Yeah.
wondering if you have any perspective from the COG, especially now that Susan Alvarez is there, about what they think about what might help their particular plan to be more of interest, to be a winner of these funds than other ones. Like, are they thinking that if it shows a lot of community support for their plan for certain initiatives in it, or, you know, things like Dallas with its CCAP, do they think that if we focus on some of the initiatives in there, that because there's a plan, that there's already support by the council to implement these things? Since if you have these, but you don't actually have a city or some kind of entity that's ready to run with it, I mean, just, I'm trying to get an idea. Or are they looking at, you know, where can they biggest bang for the buck with emission reductions? Do you have any feedback or perspective on that, especially since you've been working on the CCAP and know COG so well?
Well, I do think it's important, guys, that we do show up for the meeting, because that I have been on many plans before where it's important to the funder, namely the EPA, that there is public support. Even if it's public support just to listen to what they have to offer, and you're a body on a Zoom call. I mean, that's important. And if you want to stay plugged in, it's good to get on these type of Zoom meetings. I will say this, and I noticed that when I looked at measures, COG focuses, and rightfully so, over half of our GHG emissions, a lot of our ozone producing emissions, et cetera, come from engines, namely vehicles, off-road vehicles, railroads, planes, anything that's got an engine, guys. And then we have point sources. A point source basically means a polluting entity or factory. What comes to mind there is Martin Lake, the GAF roofing shingle plant in West Dallas, the cement kilns in Midlothian, neighboring power plants, aggregate plants that produce cement, and things like that. What I did, because COG had so many measures I noticed on transportation, is I went to our CCAP, and I've got a bunch of this listed on the document I'm going to forward to y'all. I thought, well, we got a lot here on transportation, but we don't have much about water, and we didn't have much about, I'm trying to think of the other topic I had. Well, I'll go to water for a minute. Waste treatment plants and landfills. For instance, a wastewater treatment plant, guys, all that sludge they have to treat, you get a bunch of methane and emissions off a wastewater treatment plant. There is a way to capture those emissions, and also you want to fix anything leaking emissions. So there were things in particular areas like water and waste that I noticed they didn't have many measures of. So I went and looked at the CCAP and gathered some of those measures for both waste and water. And the other thing I did was I also went to the Denver plan. For instance, it's not hard to find anybody's plan, but it's probably best to try and find plans. What's happening in California, it probably isn't as applicable as it is to have Colorado or Oklahoma or one of our neighboring states' plans in hand. But I noticed Colorado's trying to implement a number of programs. And this is where, when I went to the COG meeting the other day and heard that they have 5 years, like basically till they have to start showing some reporting and reductions by 2027. I thought, oh, some of these programs may take a year or two just to get set up. So what I'm doing with COG is I'm giving them a laundry list of items because I'm not an air modeler, and their expertise far exceeds mine, and they can go, oh, we should have thought of that. Or I'm going to pick up the phone and call Denver about this measure they're doing and see how they're setting that up, because they're going to have to evaluate all of these to see what's going to be the most productive. And then other types of measures are going to kind of fall as secondary or third or the bottom of the pile, because they're either going to take too long or they truly don't give that much emission reduction. And I will tell you, when I worked the TXI permit in 1995, now I'm going to date myself. Though TXI, during when I worked that permit with downwinders at risk and some other groups, a point source like a cement kiln will equate to hundreds of thousands of cars to get them off the road. And if you can put, we call it, I'm just going to call it a deluxe catalytic converter, because there at one time were no scrubbers on those stacks over there. You reduce all sorts of emissions, not just sulfur dioxide and all sorts of nasty pollutants, but arsenic, benzene, chromium, cadmium, beryllium, you name it. So when some of us that are used to working permits, when we can identify a point source like that, and all they have to do is put on a couple pieces of equipment and it wipes out a couple 100,000 cars worth of pollution. We also look at entities like that, because some of those entities, guys, have skirted new environmental controls on their plants for years. And another prime example is the GAF roofing plant that you've heard and read about in West Dallas. It looks like a rusting pile of bolts with old tanks and everything else. And in the last year, we pushed for that plant to clean up, and they should have undergone what we call new source review, which is a serious scrutiny of all their equipment. So what they did is they told that state agency they were going to lower their emissions to a certain threshold so they wouldn't get that kind of review and skirt the pollution controls they should put on. It's a common thing industry does. So anyway, Molly, I hope one way or another I answered what you asked. But anyway,
Yeah, that helps.
okay. So, one other thing, if no one's got any more questions about COG, and again, I hope folks will jump on the phone on the 24th. I want to tell you about something coming up. I'm excited about the new methane rules passed by EPA this past December. And like I mentioned, it requires better monitoring of all drilling operations from cradle to grave. And it requires all the equipment to clean up. So just this week, last Friday, as a matter of fact, the EPA came out with new rules for fining companies that go over certain methane levels. It is going to be a big fight, because you could imagine how oil and gas is excited about that. So the EPA is going to fine people for X amount of metric ton of methane. The rule was just announced Friday, and the amounts of money industry would have to pay. And so what's going to happen is they've announced the rules probably in early February. They are going to always, EPA puts out a comment period. So industry and the public can comment. Usually it's 60 days or 90. I think this one's going to be 45. I may be sending your organization an email and say, support the fines and the fees for methane, because industry is going to come out full throttle. I anticipate they'll try and throw a lawsuit and hope someone in particular gets elected next fall to kill this rule. So just wanted to mention that. So, well, thanks everyone. I appreciate your time tonight. I hope it made sense.
Thank you, Rita. We appreciate the information. So
Sure.
I realized earlier I asked you to copy Jigna, but I didn't actually tell you what Jigna does. Jigna is going to be doing our social media.
Oh, okay.
So by copying her, that's directly the source to like distribute it to everybody.
Oh, great. Great. So I wrote her email address down off the chat. I will make sure she gets it. And I know the COG plan is just for our region, guys, but there will be lots of things coming up on methane. And if you'll email and notify your sister chapters and so forth around the state, no state would benefit more by reducing methane than ours. We're number one in the world on methane emissions. So, all
Wow.
right.
Thank
Well,
you.
thanks, guys.
Thank you, Rita.
All right. And let me do this before I jump off. I'm going to put my email
Mm.
in the chat. It's rita.beving@gmail.com. And you guys just feel free to email me anytime about air stuff or something you read about methane, etc. Okay? Because I'll be working it. All
you,
right. Well, thanks, guys. Thanks so much. I'm going to drop off.
All right.
Rita,
Thank
you're
you, Rita.
wonderful.
Oh, sure.
Thank you so much. You are
Very informative.
a powerhouse of information.
Well,
Thank you.
thanks. Thanks. I hope it made sense. Thanks, guys.
Of course.
Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much, Rita.
Good.
Thanks,
Have a good night and have a good year. Let's hope this
You
is the
too.
year we reduce pollution. Thanks.
We'll be working on it.
All righty. Thanks. Bye-bye.
All right. Okay, so my Zoom adjusted enough that I could actually read that Mary Williams is with us from Monterey Bay. Hi, Mary.
Hi, guys. I'm just visiting tonight. I'm one of the new co-chairs
Okay.
of our chapter, and our chapter is new as of last May. So we are very new and very tiny. But we're excited. We're on the central coast of California, the Monterey Bay and Santa Cruz counties.
All right. Well, welcome.
Thank you. And I trained in 2018 in Los Angeles.
Okay. Very cool. I was online, so I don't get to do that, cool. I was in the same place thing.
Mhm.
I was at home too.
How are things with your chapter there, Mary? Are y'all busy and cooking right along?
We started off really, really quick. We identified a bunch of local ally organizations that we networked with to learn about what they were doing, how we can support their efforts, how we can all work together. And then we had an interview with our chair at that time, who is my co-chair now, get picked up in the local paper. We had 100 people sign up for our chapter who really were just kind of interested, but so our numbers got really big, but then we struggled to find people to run for our offices for the 5 that we need. But we got there at the middle of December of last year. So we all just started in with a new leadership team a couple weeks ago.
Yay.
Very cool.
But we have wildfires, we have flooding, we have I don't know, you name it. We've got it all here because we have agriculture, and we also have down in the southern part of Monterey County in the inland area, we have fossil fuels as well. And we passed 2017, 2018 local measure to ban fracking, which was recently overturned last August. It took them several years of appeals, but so that happened. So we need to get back at it and try to do it again.
Fair enough.
Yep.
Well, cool. So this is actually our first meeting at this time. We used to be on Saturday mornings, and our attendance was going down a little bit. We took a poll. This was the best time. This is our first meeting at this time, which is why I'm hoping that there's small number of us right now. But yeah, chapters, they're fun. They take energy. They do that.
Well, my niece and her family just moved last year from Las Vegas to Justin. So I'm going to recommend that she drop in with you guys and learn a little bit about what you guys are all doing for climate reality there.
Just in Texas?
Yes. Denton County.
I know where it is.
Yeah.
I'm just surprised somebody sent someone there. I left that area when I turned 18. That was not a destination area.
Oh, her husband works for DHL and he got a promotion track. So that's where they
Okay.
are. Them
That
and
makes sense.
their three teenage kids. So
Fair enough.
yep.
Okay. Well, cool.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, so continuing on with our agenda. At this point, we wanted to talk to everybody about our plan about meeting format for the rest of the year. So as we discussed last year, Climate Reality came out with their 4 pillars of action: emissions reduction, climate financing, anti-greenwashing, and COP 20, whatever, 24 this year. You know, whichever year we're in, that's it.
Up 29.
Say again?
It'll be COP 20.
29.
29. Okay. Thank you. I lose track. Like, basically, I don't know that I've ever actually had track on which COP it was. So those 4 areas, what we're looking at. So we were looking at structuring the content of the meetings around that. Like emissions reduction is one of the actions. Today was air quality, etc. How do y'all feel about that as members of the chapter?
Simon, could you just kindly repeat those 4 items? Because I failed to write that down. I've already forgotten.
Yep, I will do that, and I will put them in the chat. I'm looking around my camera. That's why I'm doing these weird maneuvers with my neck. I'm not having a problem, I promise. Emissions reduction, climate financing, anti-greenwashing, and COP 29.
Nice.
Well, I think it's a great idea. I think it creates a unified focus between us as a chapter and what's happening with the national organization. Originally, I had suggested that we divide the year into 4 3-month quadrants and devote a season to each one of the topics. And now I'm thinking that that may or may not be possible just because of what it takes to get a speaker. But that each of the speakers could still focus on, there would still be 3 meetings throughout the year.
One.
Yeah, devoted, maybe not in a row,
Mm.
but it would still happen.
I also think it's a fantastic idea. This was Beth's idea, by the way. She had some brilliant, like, guidance ideas for us. Anybody else have any ideas, comments, thoughts on this? Want to weigh in?
So I have one suggestion, like we also focus on getting someone to do Richard's job. Because that is very important, to get a speaker, get it planned and let everyone know, because otherwise we are just going from one to the other. Secretary also, and also at least the executive committee should attend. I mean, no, it's not possible for everyone all the time, but make it a point to attend. At least to show the new members that, yeah, we have everyone attending. What else? Oh, yeah. So you said that Jigna has taken over and she's active now. She's changing the website.
Yeah.
I haven't checked because I was concerned. I like to keep my book club stuff all up to date. And Jan Falcon, I had sent it and I haven't checked whether they have updated it.
You sent it to Jigna?
No, I had sent it to, what's his name, Pradeep.
Okay.
Oh, the
Because
calendar.
then, yeah,
Yeah,
I did not have a Jigna's email at that time, so Beth sent me,
Hmm.
and now I'm hoping she's done it, or she will do it.
I believe that's that. I can just check now while y'all chatting. Jan, were you making, you had a comment?
Oh, I was just saying, I said to Jayashri, why don't we have the book club on the calendar? Because as you know, I live by the calendar. So
We do it every year. We do it, and earlier Pradeep used to be very prompt. I sent him within an hour. He will say done. So my book club, like it be on the event calendar, on the Discord calendar, events like listed, and the links for Zooms. Like, so it was very efficient at that time. Right now we are struggling with people
So
taking the.
yeah,
I did check the book club today, and it hasn't been updated with
Yeah,
with
okay.
the books for this year yet.
So I have,
if you can send that again,
yeah, I'll
copy
do that.
and copy me on it, but send it to Jigna and Pradeep,
Okay,
because I know that Pradeep is a lot busier now than he was when he started.
yeah, that I
Like,
know.
Yeah, so
would it be possible to just have all the leaders have access to the calendar so we don't have to always funnel it to Pradeep?
We all can't change it. Only one person is in charge, but we all can access it in the sense that click on it and get all the information.
Oh, but I'm talking about writing to it to create events like your book club.
Uh,
You have the
that
power.
I
that can cause confusion. You might delete, someone might add, and so one person is important, should be the source, which I believe is safer. And so yeah, I hope Jigna is as efficient as Pradeep used to be, and hope it'll be done soon. Also, before I give up my speaking time, I wanted to announce to all of you that this year we have chosen books a lot to do with the, what should I call it, Jeffrey? The psychology, I would say, of dealing with climate
Yeah,
crisis.
climate crisis.
Yeah, so four of the books are, most of them are dealing with some aspect of it in the young people, how to deal with the grief and stuff a lot. And the first quarter, Jeffrey will be leading the book club because I'll be out of country at that time, and he has kindly and graciously taken up the offer. I requested him and he agreed to it. So guys, make sure you attend. I'll try and attend from there, but our time difference is almost 12 hours. So while you guys are evening, I'll be early morning or maybe late night, who knows. So
going back to the meetings, then that is our plan for structure, and I'm not hearing any objection to it. So that is overall the course that we're going to follow with that. We're also bringing back discussion groups, which we're actually going to go into right now. I'm playing around a little bit with the format of the meeting, like moving discussion groups, for example, after the speaker. One, because maybe we want to talk about the things the speaker said, and two, I don't want to hold somebody hostage while we have our discussion groups before they're able to speak and do the thing they came for. So discussion groups. We're going to take about 5 minutes, and this is your prompt. All right. Time travel with me for a minute. Time travel with me. Right now, it is January of 2025. And we are all reflecting on what we did with those 4 areas of impact in 2024. What did we do? You have them in the chat. Go ahead and grab those for a second. Make sure you have them. I'm going to put everybody into rooms. And that is what we're going to discuss. And we can put them in. Yeah, there. Okay. And yes, okay. Everybody good on the instructions? Anybody not good on the instructions?
Could you repeat them? It's basically looking at a year from now, what would we have accomplished in the interim?
Yep. Imagine it's January 2025. What do you want to say that we did about those 4 areas?
Gotcha. Thank you.
All right. And here we go. Hey, Alex.
Hello, sorry, I just finished leading one of my discussion groups for Yale and I wanted to jump in even though I know there's only a few minutes left.
No worries. You're good. You're good.
How are things going?
This is how things are going. This was the whole meeting. No, I'm kidding. I'm joking. They're in breakout rooms right now.
That's nice, Simon. Don't play with me like that. Play with me like
But-
that, Simon.
No, there were 9 of us tonight. First time for the meeting. Right now, they're imagining that they are time traveling. It is January 2025, and they're discussing what we as a chapter did this year for our 4 areas, which were emissions reduction, climate financing, anti-greenwashing, and COP29.
Okay, yeah, and those are the new climate reality
Yep.
things, right? Okay. Well,
Yep.
cool.
Trying to do the climate reality thing.
That climate reality thing. Love it. Well,
How's everything
good.
with you?
I'm glad.
How's everything going with you?
It's going. It's going. No, it's really good. I feel like I am inundated in climate and health research, which is great and what I came here to do, but I'm also so tired. I just finished writing an encyclopedia chapter on climate change and late life disability.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a little niche, but one of my advisors, he does like late life disability research, and he was asked by an encyclopedia on disability to write something. And he was like, "Do you want to write about climate change?" And I was like, "Yeah."
Very cool.
Yeah. So we're chugging along talking about the things, but it's going.
Good.
Are y'all warm now? Did it get warmer today?
We got above freezing. So
That's good.
yeah, we're turning in the right direction. Okay,
Yeah.
so it's time for me to bring everyone back. Let's pretend that it's 2022 when they come back.
Okay.
I know it's stupid.
Let's do it.
I don't really know how we're gonna do that. Like, there's like what? Put up a banner 2022 in the background.
Pretend that I'm still vice chair. Thanks everybody for coming tonight. I've been here the whole time. Let me just gaslight the whole group.
There you go.
I'm so frustrated. UTMB doesn't let me get on my Gmail. So I have to get on my phone on the meeting.
It's obnoxious.
It really is, especially when I'm trying to do things. I'm trying to be great and UTMB won't let me be great.
How much longer do you have in your program?
4 years, 3.5 years.
All right.
Yeah, it's a 4-year program. So Rose has been emailing me. She's like, hurry up and finish. We need you back in Dallas. I'm like,
Alex,
hello.
hi. We were talking about you. How are you?
Hi.
Welcome back. You look healthier since you've moved away from us, which is scary.
It's the high humidity here in Galveston. It does wonders for my skin.
How is it going? How's your course of study going?
It's going really well. Thanks. Hi, Beth. I'm trying to figure out how I
Hi.
can see all of y'all instead of just one of you. But yeah, it's going really well. I was telling Simon, I feel like I'm inundated in the climate and health space because that's literally all I do, which is what I came here to do, which is great. But I'm also like, oh my gosh.
Oh, well,
Hey,
you.
Alex, find someone like you for us. We don't have very enthusiastic people right now.
A clone,
I beg your
perhaps?
pardon. We've got a couple of enthusiastic people.
Yeah, Beth
Y'all are
is.
all
Beth
enthusiastic.
is.
Seriously, Alex, do you have someone that could maybe offer leadership in the faith network area? That's such a critical area these days.
I mean, Jan, I'm looking at you.
Oh, I just threw some seeds in my mouth. Sorry. Okay. I think I talked to you, Alex, but I know I talked to Simon. I feel that we have so few people in our committee that I don't think it makes sense to reinvent the wheel, because there are some other very active, effective faith groups that are working on the climate issues. I've been getting involved more with some of them, and I just don't feel like we had the momentum in climate reality. I just I'm just not sure it makes sense to funnel some of our limited resources to that when there are already groups doing this.
One of the books that Registry had put in for this year is a book that directly applies to faith communities.
Oh,
So
yeah?
you might look at the list for this. I forget which one. It's like the fourth
Yeah.
one or third or fourth one.
The
in-
names are, yeah. So even I don't remember off my top of my head, but I'll make sure that they are up at the website within a day or two. I'll pester Jigna about it till it's up. And so everyone should be able to see it on the website.
And
When you say the
it's
website-
oriented towards youth ministry,
Yeah.
working on climate despair amongst youth.
The
in
young generation,
churches.
yeah.
I'm in despair too. I'm old, but anyway. Yes, I know what you mean. That sounds great. And when you say the website, Jayashree, what do you mean then?
We have a chapter website,
Okay.
and I'll put the website on in the chat here. And if you go there, you'll find several places you can click, and you will find different working groups. So book club was the first working group that was started in 2018, and it has met continuously, never missed a meeting, and we are still working. So we are not stopped. So
Okay.
our book club website, I mean, not book club, our chapter website is once you go there, and you'll see options for different personally get involved, this and that, leadership. It has all the information. And one of the working group is book club, and there you'll find the book. So I don't know, as Jeffrey said, it's not up yet, but I'll right now I'll do it to Jigna, and it should be up in a day or two.
Fantastic. So I guess I haven't looked at that lately. I thought we were supposed to get information on Discord, but is it a little of each?
So yeah, so Discord is for internal communication, and the website is for external communication, so people can see like what's going on, pick something out to get involved with,
Okay.
etc.
Yeah, and when they search, normally, like sometimes we have school teachers approaching us to speak. I have spoken at several schools about some aspect of what they like, little kids, middle school, elementary school, high school. So it lets people in general find us.
That's fantastic. Okay, that makes sense.
Oh,
All right.
Simon, can you add
Yeah,
that?
so Mike was asking about
Hmm.
Discord in the chat, and I just grabbed that link, and you follow that link, Mike, and you will be able to join our Discord server. Joshua, were you asking me something? You had a question for me?
No,
You
you're
want me to do
good.
something? No? Okay. Okay. So let's go on. So we accidentally went all the way back to 2022 because Alex is here. But time travelers, what did we come out of our journey? Was it that we're supposed to do this year to save the world?
Well, I'll give some highlights of Molly's and my conversation, which was basically what we thought is we can connect the dots between what a speaker brings in and locally what is happening. Just like Rita gave us so much information about locally what is happening that we can take action on. So it wasn't necessarily what would be the result of that, but that is the pathway to follow to get to any results. And the other thing that Molly brought up, which I was avidly interested in, was that, and Rita brought it up too, was this idea of collaboration with other groups. And so I just want to put out there that one of the ideas that we have for this year is an event that brings together all of the environmental groups, large and small, in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And I followed through with the idea and had a conversation with Victoria from Sierra Club Dallas last year. And from everything that we talked about, I have concluded that the best way to do this is through Zoom. And Molly has volunteered to help me find the contact information from all of the local groups, which I needed. I would not have been able to do this on my own. Thank you, Molly. And the idea is threefold. Build community, enjoy, have fun, get to know each other, and let it be joyous, and find out if there's anything that we can do together as a unified whole that we cannot do singly on our own. And that collaborative element seems to be part of the pathway that Molly and I discussed onto the results that we're going to have in 2025, even though you asked about what the results are. What we focused on is the pathway there. Thank you.
Fair
Time to
enough.
bring back that Discord server, Simon, that we started before I left.
Say again?
Remember the Discord server that we started for the local environmental organizations that I never got off the ground?
You are correct. I do remember that.
Might be time to bring that back.
Yeah, but that's in here still. I was trying to look for it. I'll bet it's still there. Yeah,
Well,
we
how
can,
do we do that? How do we bring it back?
oh, I just find it and like add you, and then we start using it. I think I have mine to drop off when so many don't, when there's not activity.
Okay.
But
All right.
we can bring it back.
Okay, cool.
Okay, next group.
I can go for us. Mike, Jan and I met and we ended up raising a question of what could we possibly do about greenwashing. And we spent the whole time discussing what is greenwashing? How do we know it? And the two things that we came up with is that we needed to better educate ourselves about greenwashing within the chapter. And secondly, most of my reading on greenwashing leads to very political action necessary. So Jan, I think, suggested that perhaps we should do briefings for organizations that are politically active as part of their mission, so that we're not directly doing the political stuff, but we brief people, give them information that they would be able to then use when dealing directly with legislators. And if I missed anything, go ahead and add it, Jen, Mike.
I think we all agreed that we weren't real clear on how do you define it and what are you doing about it. So we're all pretty interested to like figure out what exactly would we be learning this year. Sounds like a good thing we need to know about.
Okay.
And I'll add, so when we see it, once we know it, how do we respond in a timely manner to make our voice effective?
Okay. So great questions. I'm taking notes as fast as my frozen fingers will go. Well, they're thawed now, so it's slightly faster.
There you go.
I mean, we are recording this, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And for our group, Chips will brief you.
I've been volunteered. Actually, I want to invite Mary because I think she had a great idea. But, my perspective is that, we're in a weird twilight time. A lot of the elderly and youth are disengaged, and you're seeing a resurgence of climate denial, explicitly, overtly, drill baby drill, and all that among one half of the electorate. But Mary, why don't you tell us about the voter engagement and acceleration of registration efforts. I think that is a crucial issue that can and did in 2020 when we did it. We had a lot of effort that Richard and I and Alan and others put on to get people involved. We had a climate reality voter registration, but we also worked with the ACLU, League of Women Voters, Move On. We tried the different ones. And so I think the group would love to hear more about your plans because this is an election year. And
Yeah, we have one member that took it upon herself to go get trained through the county registrar of voters as somebody who can do nonpartisan voter registration. And she's going to be training the rest of us and making sure that we all have the ability to do that. And we'll add that to our tabling efforts that will be at farmers markets and Earth Day celebrations and wherever we go, basically. And we also watch out for candidates and make sure that they sign the No Fossil Fuel Money pledge, which is at nofossilfuelmoney.org. I believe that's the, I'll find it and put it in the chat. But yeah, so in addition to that, we want to not be depressed about it, just like get the truth out there, truth to power, and get mad, make noise, get in the streets. Hopefully we can find people to write some letters to the editor and get the information out there, because there are good things happening. Like if you all subscribe to Catherine Hayhoe's newsletter, I mean, she's got it, the good, the not so good, and she always puts something good out there, and so there's always something to report about.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you both.
Mary, what is the name of that newsletter? Do you know offhand?
Yeah, I think it's just catherinehayhoe.com or .org or something. If you just web search for Catherine Hayhoe,
Okay.
Her website comes right up first thing, and you could just click on it. And it's a really short newsletter, so you don't have to worry about reading 5 pages every week or anything like that. It's just little tidbits, and follows a really standard format. It's very easy to read.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, and if you just follow on social media like Instagram, Twitter, she puts up everywhere. She's so outspoken, everything that she does and what could be done.
Okay, perfect.
All right. I thank you all for participating in that exercise. I think we have some interesting ideas to go off of. The executive committee is meeting again next month. We'll have your feedback. We'll all talk over it as we work on our strategic plan and the ongoing planning of these meetings. So we should be on announcements now, but I think effectively announcements have been made by people who had announcements. Does anybody else have anything to add in? Or Beth, did you want to highlight anything about the eco group meeting that you talked about?
I think just that I needed 1 or 2 volunteers. Molly has volunteered, so I think she and I will start and get a sense of, I'm just looking for a couple of people to give me an hour of their time. So let Molly and I do the initial thing, and then I'll get back in touch and let you know if I need another volunteer.
Sounds
But
great.
I do have a question for you, Simon, and it's Jayashri brought it up. Are we in process of getting somebody who will handle events and getting speakers for our chapter meetings? Is that a happening thing?
We are always interested in having somebody fill that position, and I do not currently know of anybody to fill that position. I have spoken with everybody that I thought would be interested in a leadership position over the course of the last 2 quarters. And our roster now is what I was able to get out of it. I'm going to say this again. I've said this before. I will say this again. One of the reasons why this kind of space, this climate activism space, tends to be dominated by people who are retired. Tends to be because they have more time. Retired people and students. There's more time available. And a lot of us in the chapter, I would say the bulk of us now are not that. We're working adults. We don't have a lot of time, and it's difficult to allocate enough time to do specific things. So the share historically has been doing a lot of outreach with people and a lot of personal connection, a lot of like one-on-one. And I have simply not been able to do that as much as I would like to for the past year. Roger was really, really good at it. So was Leah. Alex was great at it. And I simply don't have quite as much time. Jashri?
I have a suggestion. Offer that to the people who are present now. Does Mike want to take up a position?
I actually was about to raise my hand.
Yay.
Fantastic.
I am interested in working on events.
Okay.
So I don't know if I can get with somebody individually about what that means, Simon, or your Discord or whatever. But
just hang out here with us. And we're gonna come back around to that in a second. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
I have Earth Day on my mind, and we got a big year this year. Every day is Earth Day, so leading right up to the main one.
Okay. Next up, we have community building. Jeffrey, do you have something for us?
Yes,
Hey, 1 second, please. I'm sorry I'm interrupting because I do want our chapter to be like it used to be before. Jeffrey, would you like to take up any executive committee position?
actually, I don't really have the time right now.
Okay, just
So-
wondering.
Well, let's see. I mean, actually, the community building group that I am chair of, and I'm the only person in it. If anybody wants to get together with me about ideas for revitalizing that, I would welcome them. My apartment complex uses a water pump for the heat pump. And every time we have a couple of days where it stays below freezing, like we just had, the water pump freezes. And so I didn't have any heat last night. And I was looking out into our little courtyard here, and I was noticing the little birds. And this poem came to me. It's called Instructions for Perseverance. It's the chickadee that saves me today. Though the world gets cold, the chickadee stays. Despite snow, despite frost, despite lack of sun, it doesn't leave the winterland. Oh, tough little bird who sticks around, who thrives in any weather, whose cheerful tune spirals like hope through the frigid folds of January, as if to say, let it come. I can sing through anything. Let it come.
Beautiful,
Thank you,
Jeffrey.
Chickadee.
Very beautiful. Love it.
Thank you, Chickadee, and thank you, Jeffrey.
And especially here in Texas where the grid could go any moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, more cold weather coming. Before we get off the phone, Mike, can I have your email address? Would you mind? I have 3 potential speakers.
Great. I'll put it in the chat
Yeah.
for everybody.
Simon, you're muted.
Yeah, Simon, we cannot hear you.
Thank you. Well, okay. Let me back up. Okay, so normally at this point we would be adjourning. I would like to modify our meeting plan in one small way, which is after the general meeting, which we'll try to keep to within like 60 minutes to 70 minutes going forward. After that, leadership check-in, executive committee, anybody running a working group, anyone on it who has a committee, anybody who has a project they're trying to get off and they're having some difficulty, that is that time. And I'm like thinking somewhere between like 10 to 20 minutes, but at least 10 minutes every single meeting. Anybody who has something can do that. And what I'll do is I'll stop recording and we'll be able to go over anything like leadership related at the very end of the meetings. So without objection, I will do that in 5, 4, 3. Look how well I count. Isn't it beautiful? 1, I even kept track.